This has got to be a first. I'm serious. No silly, goofy puppy intro today. I don't think I've ever done this in the history of this channel's history. This is a game that I champion, defend to the bitter end when everyone else says it's middle of the road, or even worse, they call it the meanie pants names like bad or really bad or stupid. But I guess the world of any percent speedruns is vicious and brutal, so yeah, here we go. Kirby Battle Royale. If you weren't aware of the internal workings of Puppy, this is a video in a series of several where I rank the any percent Kirby speedruns. We covered Kirby's Blowout Blast yesterday, and while I didn't have that much to say on it, you could certainly hear what I did have to say about it, and as well as the other games that we've covered so far, in the playlist. We're only 6 days in, but there's already a lot of me ranting and rambling about these things, so go give it a watch. Or listen, I'm not picky, I just crave love and affection. Love and affection which you, dear viewer, can show to me by liking this video and ringing the notification bell after subscribing. Not only would it help me and the channel out more than you could ever believe, it would also save me from the wrath of a deputy pup who's still upset at me for disrespecting the Nothing Burger, which I didn't even do. But she's so upset that, rumor has it, she's in the works of getting in touch with Sheriff Sheba, and if she does manage to, it could spell big trouble for your favorite puppy. That's me. Remember, Fluffle friends, every like and subscribe makes it harder for Deputy Puppy and Sheriff Shiva to get in touch. Even better for keeping this dangerous duo apart is becoming a pup train on Patreon or to join as a mempup on YouTube. You do get nifty perks for it, and even getting to see these rad speedrun rankings of the Kirby variety 2 days early. Special thanks to my head-patting Fluffle fan Puptrons and Mempups, Freakish Uproar, Lydia Scribe, and Vilifar. I love you all, and you rule. Kirby Battle Royale also rules, so let's talk about it. Any percent for this game could be a few things, such as getting X amount of achievements or doing a full round of the battle mode, but for the obvious pick, we're going with clearing the story mode. Not 100%, of course, just getting to that unforgettable final boss and watching that ending cutscene. Neither of which I'm going to spoil. I need to look out for the 2 people watching that haven't played Battle Royale yet, but are going to someday. Oh, this puppy must stay strong for them. As far as the story mode itself goes, it can admittedly get pretty repetitive. This is the biggest knock against it on a casual level, and yeah, it's hard to defend a 3-hour story mode consisting of 10 battle modes that don't take much longer than a minute, at best. The individual games themselves are super fun, I refuse to back down on that point, but similar to something like Mass Attack, just because the individual parts work together really, really well, doesn't mean it can't get to feeling like a bit much once you start running. Since this is a speedrun and all, you don't even get the funny dialogue with that one Waddle Dee saying he hopes the Mennonite destroys you. Some category, right? Although, the Mennonite destroys you percent, you speak to that Waddle Dee in the fastest possible time. Meme categories aside, what makes a speedrun like any percent Battle Royale fun? It's just playing the same games over and over, right? Well, there are a few things, and an aspect of the game that I barely ever talk about are the boost orbs. These are stat boosters, either passive or manual to activate, that can be put on Kirby before a battle starts. You don't unlock them right away, but once you do, they come in handy. Attack boosts, charge time reduction, you name it. But the real fun of Battle Royale's story mode, and by extension the games themselves, are the abilities you get to use. You'd assume that sticking to as few as possible would be optimal. That's how basically every other Kirby game works. Thankfully, this is a 3DS game, and what do 3DS games have? If you guessed 3D, I guess you'd be right, but you'd be wrong. Most 3DS games towards the end didn't even bother with that anyways. Haha, what silly is? If you guessed touchscreens though, you'd be right. Your reward for guessing that is nothing. I'm pretty poor, okay? Since using the touchscreen takes the same amount of time as selecting an ability with, I don't know, say the D-pad, there is nothing holding you back from picking whatever ability you want for most of the modes. Of course, I do mean most, since some modes, like Battle Arena and Flag Ball, are best done with specific abilities, Sword and Whip respectively in this case. But for every other game mode, while some abilities are ideal, like Whip basically owns Crazy Theater, which, as the pun masters say, is crazy, you can use whatever you want for the most part and not lose time. Battle Arena and Flag Ball are, thankfully, relatively easy to explain. Sword has the strongest charge attack in the game, at least in terms of raw damage, so you'll want to use it against the CPUs that are far too willing to get hit by it. Maybe it's charity work, maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe they got taken down by Deputy Pup. Remember, don't let that happen to me, please. Could be anything. But Sword's charge attack is good, so we use it. Simple. As for Flag Ball, seeing as how the whole point is to flag the ball, this explains nothing on how this mode works, but we're gonna go with it. It makes sense to want the one ability that can grab it from far away. It's also useful for stuff like Ore Express, and as I said before, Crazy Theater. I may have said this already, but to express my thoughts, that's great. Having two abilities that are actually the best in the game gives the speedrun a sense of genuine strategy and, more importantly, balance. That said, I won't lie, having virtually every ability in the game to goof around with almost entirely balances out the repetitive nature of the story mode. Using, say, Ninja is entirely different from using Cutter, which is nothing like Ice, which shares very little with Bomb, which doesn't share a lot with Doctor, which is, well, you get the point. Why do I look like this? To me, experimenting with different abilities and truly finding the depth of how this game works is even more fun than the battle modes themselves. And trust me, I think very highly of most of these battle modes. What does dock some points, though, is that it doesn't actually matter how good you are at most of these games. It definitely does for Battle Arena, Robo Bonkers, and Flag Ball, even Crazy Theater to a small extent. For over half of the modes, you're put on a time limit, and once it reaches 0, you find out who wins with no way to end it sooner. You can be the best, say, coin clasher in the world, or you can be the worst who's managed to come in first place despite the uphill struggle. Both of which were possible because you knew there was a puppy who believed in you. Hi. But it wouldn't change anything. You'd clear it equally fast, which kinda defeats the whole purpose of learning how to use your ability. It's a real sour point, because if you could end them sooner while still somehow holding on to the ability variety you get from, well, not being able to end early, I'd rank this a lot higher. At least in the top half, which is a lot, given that as quickly as the very next video, we're gonna be talking about some great speedruns. The repetition on top of the ennui of it all just really holds it back for me, you know? It's the very specific combination of length plus repetition plus low skill ceiling, too. I kind of talked about this yesterday while saying Blow Up Blast had the reverse problem. It was nice and short, but didn't have enough going for it. Obviously, if I had to pick, I'd take a lengthy speedrun, even if it's supposed to be a simple category like any percent, as long as it's fun. I can use all the fancy jargon I want, call myself the fastest puppy the world has ever known, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have fun for 120 minutes than have fun for 20 minutes, you know? I don't know if that math works perfectly, but you're not supposed to know I like math anyway. With that said, I guess we wouldn't be in this situation at all if this wasn't a 3DS game, or more specifically, on a handheld device with no touchscreen. You'd be limited to the two abilities that are actually good, and the run would be way less fun and far more soul-draining. So I guess we're pretty lucky that things ended up the way that they did. If you have the feeling that talking about, of all things, the speedrun of Kirby Battle Royale is giving you the strongest case of mood whiplash the world has ever seen, don't be. It's just the nature of the beast. And now it's time for Fluffle Fans. It's Klaire Fluffle's Speedrunning Tip of the day. Yay! For Battle Royale, there is an absolute ton to pick from. But let's specifically talk about the Battle Arena and Sword. I'm usually mean to Sword, so I'll be nice to it today. Well, it is as easy as it sounds. Charge your attack and deplete half the opponent's health bar. And make sure you get as many opponents in range as you possibly can. Every battle arena, no exceptions, well, minus the very last one, oops, can be cleared with 1 or 2 charge attacks if you're using Sword. It's really powerful. Oh, and not being able to use the DLC abilities, that kind of stinks. I didn't know where else to fit this, but Sleep, as like an absolute legend, deserves to be usable in the speedrun. But since you can't use Sleep here, I guess I can't go to sleep either. So I'll get back to working on these videos. Yay! I don't normally ask this, but since we're neck deep into these rankings now, and I've gone through a bunch of games already, I just want to know what the vibes are. How are you guys feeling about these videos? Speedrunning is the kind of thing where you could have no interest in doing it yourself, but hearing someone talk about it or watch somebody do it is like the coolest thing ever! Anyways, I have been Klaire. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see you around. Bye-bye!